Hello, everyone. I'm Estela Casas, creative brand strategist for the Viva Auto Group family of dealerships. Thanks for listening to the VivaStyle Podcast, where we have interesting conversations about the automotive industry that provides hundreds of jobs in the borderland. Let's talk VivaStyle. Good morning. It's great to see you. Carlos Briano with the Drug Enforcement Administration is joining us this morning to talk about a lot of things. And, something that we need to talk about that's very important is our role in helping you all fight drug crime along the border. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having us. We're happy to be here.
So I was involved in a campaign a few months ago. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we just kicked it off in August, so it hasn't been that long. My boss came up with a concept that part of being El Paso strong is being drug-free. So we partner with a lot of local people, including you. Thank you so much for doing that, to remind El Pasoans that it's part of being strong to just say no to the drugs, exactly, to avoid living with drugs as part of your life. Science shows that it's much healthier for your body to not have these substances in your system. So that's going to make the person and the community stronger and safer and healthier.
We are El Paso strong, exactly, right? And drug-free. We don't realize that so many people are drug users in our community.
Yes, and the statistics show by the number of drugs that we seize, that it's just trending upwards, the amount of drugs that are coming in through our community.
And it's not only coming in through our community. So what with COVID, what have you seen? Pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID. What are you seeing? Has there been an uptick?
It did affect the drug trafficking organizations because the ports closed. Mm-hmm. So, but they adapted. They had to figure out other ways.
Find a way, exactly.
They found a way. Unfortunately, it was recruiting United States citizens, young people, to help them transport what they used to be able to transport commercially in commercial vehicles. Now it's during the height of the pandemic, they were recruiting U.S. citizens that had access to cross because they were essential.
Yes,
and so we saw a lot more people that normally were not involved in drug trafficking become involved in it, unfortunately.
And how are you addressing that problem? It's made you all change the way you operate.
Absolutely. The D.E.A always has to adapt and to the latest trends that they're seeing. And so that's one of the main jobs of the D.E.A is to interrupt, to dismantle, to just disrupt these drug trafficking organizations. And when they do come in contact with someone that's trafficking it at the lowest levels, then they try to move upwards into the higher echelons of that organization to enter into the more the higher management of those organizations, so we can disrupt and dismantle them. And a lot of the hard ways for them is when we seize their assets, when we seize their drug trafficking revenues, not just their drugs. That puts a huge
cut them at the knees.
I mean, they don't do it for anything else other than the money. Mm-hmm. So when you seize their money, it really hurts them.
So you're saying this all happened at the height of the pandemic. Now we've settled down, but now there's been an uptick in different cases in the young population, with the young kids who have not been vaccinated. Have you seen a change there too? I mean, that probably had another twist to the way you all do business now, post-COVID and into the Delta variant.
The CDC put out statistics in conjunction with SAMHSA, some of the federal agencies that study these things, and their data showed that during the height of the pandemic in 2020, children, I call them children because they're under 18, mm-hmm. Children under 18 experimented with drug use for the first time in their life. And it was up like 60 to 80% among that population. So D.E.A, it really, in our education and community outreach wing, it really put us we really have to start talking to parents and kids about this. We don't know if it was because they were bored or anxious or distressed.
Or all of the above, right?
All of the above. The isolation, all those probably contributed, but the fact was that 60 to 80% it was up. And so we really hit to, meetings with parents. Anytime there was a convening of adults and kids, we were there trying to tell people, make them aware that the drug trafficking organizations adapted by taking to social media to sell their drugs. And so that's where the kids are. And so if there was ever a time for parents to really be vigilant about their children's web browsing and their social media activity, it's now. So we made sure we made them aware of that.
A lot of challenges.
Yes, absolutely.
Did you have enough people, enough agents and enough people to face this problem and find solutions to it and just fight it? Did you have enough people? Or like every industry, people were staying at home and not doing their jobs and not working because...
The DEA adapted very well in that, where the agents that do the enforcement were working from home to street, back to home. So special agent in charge, Kyle Williamson, equipped the agents where they had their offices, everything they needed, retrofitted their vehicles. I know that vehicles are important to you, Estela.
Yes,
Yes. And so he retrofitted all their vehicles with everything they needed to work from home to street and back to home. So they adapted well under the pandemic. And if you talk to him, it was a stellar year for our division as far as the amount of cases and drug seizures and prosecutions that were accepted by the U.S. District Attorney Office. So it was a stellar year. They adapted. But so did the drug trafficking organization, so we had to.
Yeah, they're always 10 steps ahead of us, and then we catch up, and that's how it all works. You talked about vehicles, and before we started, I said, hey, so what kind of vehicle do you drive? And he said he can't tell me.
Right. We try not to tell people which vehicles we're driving and which are DEA vehicles for obvious reasons. But I did point out that by federal mandate, we do try to spread out the types of vehicles that we buy from different makers and different manufacturers. So we have a fleet of all kinds.
All kinds. And we're not going to tell you what kind is the most popular, but thank you for sharing the love and using all kinds of vehicles. As you know, we sell a lot of different brands and makes. And so hopefully, some of your vehicles are Viva cars.
I won't say if they are or not, but I would not
probably are.
I would not be shocked if there were some of our fleet was from your dealer.
Well, good. So just so everybody will know, the Drug Enforcement Administration is a United States federal enforcement agency under the U.S. Department of Justice, and it's tasked with combating drug trafficking and distribution in the U.S. It is a lead agency for domestic enforcement of the Controlled Substances Act. This is sharing concurrent jurisdiction with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, so the FBI, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which deals with the borders, and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. The DEA has sole responsibility for coordinating and pursuing U.S. drug investigations both domestically and abroad. And we are on the border, so obviously we face different challenges than people in Middle America.
This is the gateway. I've heard my boss say numerous times, once you enter El Paso, you have access to the entire interstate. You can go to any part of the country from here. And that's why the DEA, back in the late 80s, designated El Paso as one of the 23 divisions of the DEA for its obvious importance. And we cover the majority of the southwest border geographically. Our division, which not just covers El Paso, but we cover the entire West Texas, the entire Big Bend area, all the way to Midland, Odessa, and the entire state of New Mexico. So it's just a huge area of responsibility for our division, and it's a key area for combating drug trafficking.
You're very important. How strong, how El Paso strong are we as far as agents and people working within the DEA?
I can't tell you how many agents we have, but we feel that the job is getting done. Like I told you, we're disrupting and dismantling a lot of drug trafficking organizations, seizing money, putting people behind bars. Not just people that traffic in illegal drugs, but people that deal with legal drugs. There's a lot of controlled substances that are overprescribed.
Pain medication.
Right. People that will sell, that have access to prescribing or distributing or making these powerful drugs, sometimes will trade those prescriptions or those medications for illegal drugs or for money or for sex. And so we have a wing that specializes in that. It's called our diversion wing. And they make sure that every doctor, every pharmacist, every nurse that can prescribe and deal with these controlled medications, they have to register with the DEA, and we make sure that they're following the law and they're not breaking the law. And so that's part of what we do.
So don't attempt to sell any of your extra anxiety medication or pain medication because you're going to get caught.
And the other danger, Stella, is that the drug trafficking organizations are making counterfeits of those pills.
What is it called? The fentanyl.
Fentanyl. Right. The majority of those counterfeit pills
could be deadly.
Are laced with fentanyl because it's a cheap way to make it powerful, but it's very dangerous. Fentanyl, 2 milligrams, is the equivalent of 50 syringes of heroin. So no one would inject themselves with 50 needles of heroin at once, but that's in essence what you're doing when you take one of these counterfeit pills. And the problem is that most people can't tell the difference between a real one and a fake one. But if you're buying it illegally on the web or through social media or through a retail dealer or from someone you don't know if it's a legit or a counterfeit. We're seeing in our seizures that like 98% of them are counterfeit, which is you don't have high odds of that you actually have a legitimate, which is already dangerous.
Dangerous. And then you add that.
Yeah, and then now is it a fake one? What's even scarier, Stella, is that of those, 1 in every 4 has a lethal dose. So my boss talks about Russian roulette having a 1 in 6 chance of dying. With these is 1 in 4. So you're better off playing Russian roulette than taking these pills that you did not acquire legally.
Exactly. So don't even go there. Let's talk a little bit about the dark web. You talk about kids especially going and buying these illegal drugs and through the web, the dark web. You also have probably somebody dealing with that.
Yes, it's unfortunately it's not just the dark web. I mean, it's
everywhere. Social media.
If you go and do a search right now on your social media for I want to buy, whatever you want to buy, you'll find it. It's not going to be hard, unfortunately. But yes, you're right. The Drug Enforcement Administration actively monitors those social media accounts, and when they see dealers actively selling drugs through social media on our websites, they work with those the social media companies to infiltrate that and get access. And just recently, we put out a press release out of Albuquerque where we arrested over 20 people that were selling drugs on social media, and they were targeting kids, and we arrested over 20 people.
Oh, yeah, you're going to get caught eventually. And not only that, not only knowing that you're selling drugs, but you have the capacity to kill somebody with those illegal drugs. That should weigh very heavy on your heart.
Well, not only weigh heavy on your heart, but we've presented cases to the U.S. District Attorney, where we hiring experts, toxicology experts, can testify that were it not for that pill that you provided that person would not have died, and now they can be charged with murder for distributing drugs causing death, which is a way more serious crime. And so we've put out a couple of press releases locally where we arrested people with that charge, and the U.S. District Attorney, either for West Texas or for New Mexico, accepted and is going to pursue prosecution for distribution causing death. So they need to be aware of that if you distribute a a pill, a drug that ends up killing somebody, you can be prosecuted for that.
For murder.
For death. It's called for distribution causing death.
Okay.
So it's a serious crime.
So don't go there either. We talked about, you couldn't tell me the number of agents working here locally, but jobs availability. COVID has made us all kind of reflect our role and our purpose in life and in our world and in our jobs. And there are a lot of people who have retired, who have moved on, but that also makes way for new opportunities of job seekers. What kind of jobs do you have available right now in the D.E.A?
We're always hiring for agents. We're never not hiring. We're always looking for people that have a 4-year college degree or have at least 1 year of experience working, doing investigation of cases. We have, if you follow us on social media, if you go and follow the D.E.A Twitter, you'll see periodically a post of a form. Obviously, it doesn't have their face, but they're holding a little chalkboard or one of those dry erase boards, and it says, "I used to be a high school Spanish teacher, and now I'm a D.E.A agent. I used to be an airline flight attendant, now I'm a D.E.A agent." Different things like that, and we post that very regularly because we do really value all kinds of experiences in the D.E.A. But the agent is just one type of work. We have people that work in our laboratory because we suspect that it's a drug and we have field tests, but we really don't know for sure until it's tested in the laboratory. So I tell kids when I do career day presentations that if you love science and technology, STEM careers, we have plenty of those in the D.E.A because we have to deal with the technology when we're dealing with phones and computers and social media accounts. You need to be tech savvy to do that. So we do have careers in those areas. And then we have a lot of administrative people that, do accounting and IT, community outreach like myself. I'm not an agent, Estella. I don't carry a badge. I don't arrest people, but I do a lot of outreach representing the D.E.A. I do a lot of media relations. So we hire people of all kinds of skill sets at the D.E.A. So,
career change. If you're interested in a career change, just go and apply, and you may find yourself in the Drug Enforcement Administration.
Right. Just go to usjobs.gov, and then in the search criteria, put Drug Enforcement Administration. I looked at it yesterday to prepare for this, and there was about 12 positions.
Okay.
I will tell the audience, though, that when you become an agent, you do sign an agreement that you're willing to go anywhere in the U.S.
In the U.S.
In the U.S.
Okay. How about overseas?
D.E.A is a global entity. I'm glad you asked. We have offices in over 70 countries. But those you have to put in for, and they're highly competitive. There's a lot of people that want to work overseas, and I hear it's very interesting.
Yes, interesting and pays well.
And exciting, and so it's quite an experience, but they are competitive. But they won't transfer you to an overseas position. You have to actually put in for those.
Request it. Okay.
But you are going to you have to be willing to move anywhere in the U.S.
Okay, good to know. One last question. It's all our responsibility of keeping El Paso strong and keeping El Paso safe and our citizens. What challenge or what do you have to say to some of our viewers, some of our listeners, that it is their responsibility to report what they see?
You just said it. I did a public service announcement, with one of the local affiliates talking about if you see something, say something. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to actually come out and do it. You can do it anonymously. If you go to DEA.gov/submit-tip, there's an anonymous where you can post. And most of the investigations we do come through a confidential source, an anonymous source that does a tip. So if you see activity, a lot of people coming in and out of your neighbor's house, you can tell.
Something not quite right.
Exactly.
You know when something is not right.
Trust your instinct, and you want something to be done about it, just go to that link, submit your tip, and someone will respond to you. That's monitored 24/7, 365. Or if you get a spam call, someone suspect or pretending to be a D.E.A agent trying to steal your money or your identity, you can submit that information. You can go to DEA.gov and look up the local number, and call and double check. Those numbers are manned 24/7, 365.
It's all our responsibility to be El Paso strong.
Absolutely. We have the same mission as you. We want your community to be healthy and safe, and you can help us with that.
Absolutely. Anything you'd like to add?
Well, I want to thank you for participating in our public service announcement. I have a certificate of appreciation here
Thank you.
from our special agent in charge. But the really cool thing is he had some commemorative coins made, and we'd like to present you with this commemorative coin. Has that El Paso Strong logo on there. El Paso Strong is being drug free, and then in the back it has our D.E.A badge, and it says El Paso Division. So thank you so much for participating in that. And if you know of some people that are also drug free and are El Paso Strong, send them our way, because we're going to keep doing new versions.
Keep promoting. Yeah. It's un compromiso. So the campaign was in Spanish and
English. We're running
and English.
Right.
Yes. And I did the version in Spanish.
Correct.
But es un compromiso. Mm-hmm. This is great. This is fantastic. But it's also a commitment to remain drug free and commitment to continue to be involved in the community and keep your eyes out and keep your eyes open for any illegal activity that you see that you need to report.
Yep. And it's going to run the campaign all the way to October 31st, which is when Red Ribbon Week ends.
Yes. Okay. Carlos Briano, thank you so much. Public Information Officer. And you have another title. You wear two hats.
Yes. I'm also the Community Outreach Coordinator. So I do all the community outreach coordinating for the D.E.A, okay. Whether it's career fairs, whether it's trainings, whether it's presenting at the schools, all that. I don't do it all. I do a lot of it, but I coordinate, so if I can't go, someone else can go.
Well, thank you for all you do and for being El Paso Strong, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this campaign to encourage other people to stay drug-free. Thanks for coming in.
Yes, absolutely.
We'd like to hear what you think about today's conversation. Go to the Viva Auto Group Facebook page and like us. If you're in the market for a new or pre-owned car or truck, we invite you to choose a Viva vehicle.